Welcome back, guys. So, very sorry for the delay. In the last class, we have studied about what is geography. We have seen standard academic definition. Okay, and then we have seen branches of geography, that is physical. Another one is human. Okay, then we have also studied what is location, and there are two different types of location. One is absolute location. Another one is relative location. So let's see what exactly absolute location means. Okay, I want to recall what exactly location means. We have seen Singapore example. I don't know how many of you remember. So generally location means it refers to exact position or place where an object or region or a country exists on the earth's surface. So every place on earth has a unique location. Okay, so just as every person has a home address, so every country has a geographical address. India also has a geographical address. So this chapter teaches us what exactly that address is. Okay, so let's see what exactly absolute location means. Absolute location means simple. You have to remember this definition. That is the exact position of, I'll write, the exact position of a place on earth expressed using a latitude and longitude. We're going to see very deeply regarding latitude and longitude, so just remember this definition. So absolute location gives us the idea or gives the exact position of a place on earth expressed using latitude and longitude. Sorry for the disturbance. Absolute location gives the exact position of a place on earth. Okay, for example, India lies between 8 degree 4 minutes north and 37 degrees 6 minute north latitude, and 68 degrees 7 minute east and 97 degrees 25 minute east longitude. This is the exact position. Okay, this is the exact position of India. Okay, so I'll just write here so that you'll have, and 37 degree 6, this is the latitude, and regarding longitude 67 degrees 7 minutes east and 97 degrees 25 minutes east. This one is longitude. Okay, so absolute location gives the exact position of a place. The second one is relative position. The second one is relative location. Okay, so relative location is the position of a place with respect to other place. Let me take it. So it can be described using directions, distances, or what else, neighboring regions. Okay, I'll add here. So relative location means the position of a place with respect to other places. Okay, so remember this, it can be described using directions, distances, ठीक है, neighboring regions, Now, for example, I'll tell some examples. India lies in South Asia, or it is bounded by the Himalayas in the north. It is surrounded by the Arabian Sea in the west, the Bay of Bengal in the east, and the Indian Ocean in the south. What else? It shares land borders with Pakistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. Using directions, distances, and neighboring regions, and then describing the position of a place using all these all these things. So, relative location means it uses directions, distances, or neighboring regions to describe a position of a place. Okay. So this is the relative location. So before we study India's location, let me ask a simple question. So if I ask where is Hyderabad, one person say Telangana, another one say South India, and other one say India. So another may say Earth. All these are correct, but none of them tells us the exact location. Now imagine you are a pilot flying an aircraft. Okay. So can air traffic control simply say your destination is somewhere in South India? Of course not. A pilot needs the exact coordinates. Similarly, ships navigating the ocean, satellites orbiting Earth, Google Maps, GPS, military missiles, what else? Weather satellites, all require the exact geographical address. Okay? And that is why geographers developed a global coordinate system. Okay? Global coordinate system. So before we are going to discuss this, let me brief you about Earth. What is Earth? Now, Earth, we all know Earth is the third planet of our solar system. It is the only planet which supports life. Okay? Which supports life. There are life components like water and oxygen are there. Okay? So Earth is not perfect sphere. I've already discussed about this. So the Earth shape is called as oblate spheroid. Okay. So the Earth is not perfect sphere. It is slightly flattened at the poles and bulged at the equator. So that's why it is called oblate spheroid. Now why Earth is not perfectly round? Because Earth rotates continuously around its axis. Okay? Around its axis. Earth, it revolves around it. So rotation creates centrifugal force. Okay? So location creates centrifugal force, causing the equatorial region to bulge outward. Okay? While the poles become slightly flattened. That is the reason behind why Earth is not perfectly round. So let us see what is a globe. Okay? Globe is a three-dimensional miniature model of Earth that represents its shape, continents, oceans, and geographical features with minimal distortion. So I'll just write. It's a 3D miniature. It's a 3D miniature model. Okay? And now it represents shape, continents. You just have just an idea about this. Just remember this. That's it. And what is geographical features? With minimal distortion. Unlike flat maps, a globe preserves shape, direction, distance, and relative positions. Okay? So let us discuss about coordinate system right now. Let us discuss what exactly coordinate system is. Okay? Now we are getting closer to latitude and longitude. So a coordinate system is a network of imaginary reference lines used to determine the exact position of any place on the earth's surface. Okay, I'll write. So is a network, okay, is a network of imaginary reference lines used to determine, sorry about my writing, my handwriting is not that much good right now, just bear with me. So position of any place on the earth's surface. Okay, it means coordinate system is a network of imaginary reference lines used to determine the exact position of any place on the earth's surface. Think of it like a chessboard. Okay, every square has a unique combination of row and column. So similarly, every place on earth has a unique combination of latitude. Okay, now here every place on earth has a unique coordination of latitude and longitude. Okay, these combination act like earth's rotors. Okay, and these two are called two imaginary lines. These are not real lines, you will not find. These are just imaginary lines used by the geographers. Okay, so latitude or horizontal line, and these are vertical. Okay, together they form a global grid. Okay, and this grid allows us to identify any location with precision. I'm telling you, precision. We can find any location with precision, accuracy. Now, why are they called imaginary lines? Okay, if these lines exist, why can't we see them from space? Because they do not physically exist on Earth's surface. Okay, they are imaginary reference lines created by geographers for measurement and navigation. GPS satellites, Google Maps, aircraft navigation systems, ships, military operation, all of these use these imaginary lines every second. Okay, now let's take an example. Suppose you're using Google Map. When you drop a pin, Google Map displays numerical coordinates. Okay, so those numbers are place absolute location. Now we are seeing with one example, Google Maps. Okay, those numbers are the place absolute location. So without latitude and longitude, GPS would fail. Aircraft could lose navigation. Ships would struggle in the open ocean. Weather forecasting would become far less accurate. Okay, what else? Disaster response would be slower. This shows the absolute location is essential in modern life. Okay, so why absolute location important for India? Because India's absolute location determines tropical and subtropical climate and monsoon patterns, length of day and night, agriculture seasons, biodiversity, time calculation, etc. So this is what the absolute location is about. Now let us see what exactly latitude means. Now let's see latitude. Okay, so imagine this situation. You are a captain of ship in the middle of Pacific Ocean. There is no land visible, no building, no road, no mountain, nothing, just water in every direction. Now someone asks, where exactly are you? How will you answer? You cannot say somewhere in the Pacific. That is not the exact location. This problem existed for thousands of years. Ancient sailors often got lost, because they had no accurate way to determine their position. To solve this problem, geographers developed latitude and longitude. Latitude tells us how far north or south a place is, and longitude tells us how far east or west a place is. Together they form the Earth address system. Okay, I'll write here. So latitude tells us how far north or south a place is. Okay, a place is. And longitude tells us how far east or west a place is. West or place is. Now let us see latitude definition. It is a angular distance. Latitude is the angular distance of a place. Okay, measured north or south of the equator and expressed in degrees. This is the definition you should remember for UPSC. So let's understand each word. Now, so angular distance. Okay. What is angular distance? We have seen just now. Latitude is the angular distance of a place measured north or south of the equator and expressed in degrees. So what is angular distance? Earth is approximately spherical. Okay. And on a sphere, positions are measured by angles, not straight line distances. Okay. So imagine standing at the center of Earth, draw one line to the equator and draw another line to Hyderabad. The angle found between those, these two lines is Hyderabad latitude. So that is why latitude is measured in degrees, minute and seconds. Okay, remember this. Why is the equator the reference line? Whenever we measure something, we need a starting point. Example, height is measured from sea level, temperature is measured from a reference scale, and distance on the road is measured kilometer, right? From kilometer 0. Similarly, latitude also needs a starting point, and that starting point is the equator. Remember this. Equator is the starting point. You'll remember, or just simply remember as 0. So if you want definition also, I'll write. So the equator is an imaginary great circle. I'll tell about great circle. Imaginary great circle, okay, located at 0 degree latitude that divides the earth into northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. And so the equator is an imaginary great circle. Okay, it's an imaginary great circle located at 0 degree latitude that divides the earth into northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. It's the largest latitude and the only latitude that is great circle. So why is it called as great circle? Okay. So a great circle is any circle drawn on a sphere whose center coincides with the center of the sphere. The equator passes through the center of the earth, right? Hence it divides earth into 2 equal halves, right? This is the one half, another one is other half. So this is the equator. Okay. So it divides earth into 2 equal halves known as northern hemisphere. I'll write NH. Southern hemisphere. Just remember this. Okay. So all other latitude divide earth into unequal parts. So they are called small circle. So this is the great circle. So that is why it is called as great circle. Okay. And one more question, why is the equator at 0 degrees? I'll write here, why equator at 0 degrees? Why? Imagine the earth, the equator lies exactly halfway between the North Pole and South Pole. Since it is the starting reference line, its value is 0 degrees. Okay. From there, northward measurements are 1 degree, 2. Northward measurements are 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, up to 90 degree north. Okay. And as usual, southward measurements are 1 degree, 2 degree, then etc. to 90 degrees south. Okay. Now there is other question also. We are seeing 90 degrees here, right? We are seeing 90 degrees. Why latitude end at 90 degrees? We have seen why equator is at 0 degrees. We got the answer. And now let's see why latitude end at 90 degrees. The maximum angular distance from the equator is the pole. Okay? And that angle is exactly 90 degrees. Alright. Maximum angular distance from the equator is the pole. Okay? And that angle, that maximum angular distance, right now, that angle is 90 degrees. So therefore latitude ranges from 0 degrees to 90 degrees north and 0 degrees to 90 degrees south. So it can never exceed 90 degrees. Remember this. And now we have got an idea about latitude. So I'll just write characteristics of latitude. Just remember this. Don't memorize this. Just remember. Latitude is a imaginary line. Okay? We have seen that. They do not physically exist. They are reference lines created for measurement, and they're parallel to the equator. Okay? Because every latitude runs parallel to every other latitude, so they never meet. Hence they are also called as parallels of latitude. Now remember this, east-west orientation. East-west orientation. Latitude run from west to east around the earth. Remember this. And the last one is expressed in degrees. They are expressed in degrees. Like degrees, minutes, and then seconds. Okay. Now distance between two latitudes, 111 kilometers. Remember this. The distance between one latitude to other latitude is 111 kilometers. Just remember this. So now I am going to write some important latitudes in the world. Just remember, you'll just have an idea about this. So first I'll just write here. Sorry, I'm taking a lot of time here because I have to explain from the basic. So that's my aim. Importance. This is how I used to write when I started. This is how I used to write when I was making note. So first one is 0 degrees, and that latitude name is equator. Okay. Latitude 0 degrees is equator. It divides earth. It divides earth into two equal halves, two hemispheres. Okay. Divides earth into, I'll write, okay, north hemisphere, southern hemisphere. this is one latitude. This is this is one of the latitude. So other one is, I'll just write 23.5 degree north. It's Tropic of Cancer. Remember, generally when these come, sun overhead here around 21 June, sun will be overhead again. And now other one is 23.5 degrees south. This is Tropic of Capricorn. And this 22 December, remember this 22 December, sun overhead here again. And then there are lot many other, Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle, North Pole, South Pole. So just remember that. I'm going to write one more because it will be very hard to remember all these things, but just try to remember this. This is Arctic Circle. Polar day and night begin. Okay. And same 66 half north, and this is 66 half south. It is Antarctic Circle. Okay. Now here polar day and night begin. Okay. And we all know 90 degree north and 90 degrees south are called, this is North Pole and this is South Pole. Now this is very important, guys. Just remember, alright, which latitude passes through India. Passes through India. Remember this is very important. Tropic of Cancer. Okay. Tropic of Cancer passes through India. 23, I don't know, after 23 degrees and 30 minutes north, I think. I don't know, but I'm sure. So this is the latitude which passes through India. So it divides India into tropical region south and subtropical region north. And this has profound influence on climate, agriculture, rainfall, temperature, biodiversity, seasons, etc. So now let us see what are the applications of latitude. Latitude is not just number, right? It affects nearly every aspect of life. Climate. Cities near the equator receive more direct sunlight and are generally hotter. And cities at higher altitudes and cities at higher latitudes receive slanting sunlight and they are generally cooler. Example, I'll write applications of latitude. Climate. Chennai is warmer than Srinagar, and what else? Singapore is warmer than London. So these are the best examples. And now the second one is agriculture. Latitude influences cropping patterns, growing seasons, types of crop. Rice thrives in tropical regions while wheat is better suited to temperate regions. We have studied that. And on biodiversity. Okay. Tropical regions have rich biodiversity due to warm temperature and abundant rainfall. And higher altitude generally have fewer species because of cooler climates. It also affect on human settlements also, because latitude affect population distribution, lifestyle, clothing, food habits, housing patterns, etc. Okay. So this is all about latitude. So latitude is much more than latitude is much more than an imaginary line. It controls the amount of solar energy a place receives, shapes climate, determines seasons, influences agriculture and biodiversity, just now we discussed, and ultimately affect the way people live. In many ways, latitude is one of the most fundamental concepts in all of geography. Okay. Next one is longitude. Now let us discuss longitude. This is the timekeeper of the earth. Okay. So imagine you are standing on the equator. I ask you, where are you? You reply me, I was on the equator. Now another person is also standing on the equator. One is in Brazil, the other is in, let's say, Indonesia. Both are at 0 degree latitude. Now, are they at the same place? No. They are thousands of kilometers apart. Because latitude alone cannot identify an exact location. We need another measurement, and that measurement is longitude. Think of it like if latitude gives the row, longitude gives the column. Just remember, I'm just telling you. So together they pinpoint one unique location on the earth. So I'll write the academic definition for the longitude. So longitude is the angular distance of a place measured east or west from the prime meridian. And expressed in degrees. So longitude is the angular distance of a place, it measured east or west, remember this, from the prime meridian, expressed in degrees. Again, this definition is extremely important for UPSC. Let's understand everybody. We already know what exactly angular distance is. Just like latitude, longitude is not measured in kilometers, it is measured in angles only. So imagine standing at the center of earth, draw one line toward the prime meridian, draw another toward Delhi. The angle between these two lines is Delhi's longitude. The angle between these two lines is Delhi's longitude. So hence longitude measured in degrees, degrees, minutes, seconds. We have noticed other new concept here, prime meridian. What is prime meridian? Whenever we measure something, we need a starting point. Examples let's take example like temperature starts from a reference scale, and distance begins from kilometer 0. Okay, and latitude begins from the equator. Latitude we have already discussed, right? Latitude begins from the equator, which is 0 degrees. So similarly, longitude also requires a reference line, and that reference line is called prime meridian. Is a reference line, I'll write the definition, is a reference line. Okay. Okay. So it's the reference line. So it is the reference line used for the measurement. Okay. So if possible, I'll write the standard definition also. So prime meridian is the imaginary line at 0 degrees longitude. Okay. So it is the imaginary line at 0 degree longitude from which all eastward or westward longitude are measured. Eastward and westward longitudes are measured. So it divides, the prime meridian divides Earth into eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. Okay. So in the latitude we have seen equator, which divides north and south, and here prime meridian divides east and west. It's like that's it. If this is the equator, let's say if this is the equator, this will be the prime meridian. So yeah, there is other question also, why was Greenwich chosen? So students often ask, why not Delhi, why not Rome, why not other location? So historically, during the 19th century, different countries used different prime meridians, and this created confusion for navigation and international truth. So to solve this, an international conference was held in Washington DC in 1884. I think I don't know the exact date. So it is called the International Meridian Conference. So delegates from many countries agreed to adopt the meridian passing through the Royal Observatory Greenwich, that is located in London, UK, as 0° longitude. So Royal Observatory Greenwich, ठीक है, London, UK, alright, as 0° longitude, ठीक है. Now these were chosen because most nautical charts already used it, and Britain was the world's leading maritime power, and it provided a common global reference. So today, although global timekeeping uses UTC, that is Coordinated Universal Time, the Greenwich Prime Meridian remains the geographical reference for longitude. So yeah, this is about longitude. So let's talk about the characteristics. A longitude is a imaginary line like latitude, okay? So they do not physically exist, and these run north south, remember this, okay? North pole to south pole, and they are called semicircles, okay? They are semicircles. Unlike latitudes, a longitude is half of a great circle, so that's why it is called semicircle. A complete great circle is formed when two opposite meridians, for example 0° and 180° are combined. So they are half, the longitude is a half of a great circle, and they are called semicircles, okay? And these met at the poles. They meet at the poles, remember this, okay? So this is the biggest difference from the latitude. Latitude never meet, whereas longitude converge and meet at the both poles, okay? So they measure east and west position, okay? Measure east and west position. So you have a doubt regarding why longitudes are semicircles. So take a globe, draw one line from the north to south, okay? It covers only half of the globe, right? So continue the line to the opposite side, okay? Now you have a complete circle. So therefore each longitude is a semicircle, okay? So there are a total number of remember this, total number of longitudes. These are this is very important. The total number of longitudes are 360 degrees. Remember this. So there are 360 degrees of longitude. Why? Because a circle has 360 degrees, right? So Earth is a spherical. Therefore 180° east, okay? 180° east and 180 degrees west. So together they form 360 degrees. So that's why total number of longitude are 360 degrees of longitude. So distance between longitudes, we have seen latitude, right? So latitude, it's 111 kilometer. Okay. For longitude is not constant. Okay. The distance between longitudes is not constant. At the equator one longitude is 111 kilometer, let's say. As we move on toward the pole, the distance decreases or increases. At the poles, it becomes 0 kilometer, because all longitudes meet. So example, let's take example. So imagine the ribs of an umbrella. So when an umbrella is open, the ribs are far apart, okay? So at the handle they all meet, so longitude behave the same. So let's see the difference, latitude versus longitude, in the next class.